This is Jim Williams with your Hurricane City tropical update for August 14th, 5:30 p.m. This morning we had a new tropical storm on the map. TD number 7 became Tropical Storm Gert, well to the south-southeast of Bermuda. Here's the HurTrack program. Let's go ahead and put it in motion and see what's going to happen over the coming days. Here we are tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 a.m., 11 a.m., and then right around noontime will be around its closest approach to Bermuda, according to the National Hurricane Center. We should have, actually the closest approach will be right around 1 to 2 p.m. in the afternoon tomorrow, 58 nautical miles east of Bermuda. And notice our tropical storm force wind field is offshore Bermuda, so we have deactivated the countdown clock on the front page of Hurricane City, because they are not expecting any sustained tropical storm force winds. Now, they could get some gusts around 45 miles an hour on the island, but it looks like the worst of the weather is going to remain east of the island, because most of the weather is on the east side of the center of circulation. And then you'll notice the system cruises off to the northeast and out into the open Atlantic, so this will not be much of a problem for Bermuda. Now, the hurricane hunters have been flying around out there. There they are flying out there this afternoon. And we're seeing some winds here gusting to around 45 miles per hour. Let's see if we have any real high gusts here in these messages from the drop zones from the hurricane hunters. And we don't really have very many high wind gust reports around the center of circulation here, like around 35, 40 miles an hour. That's about it. And of course, there's our center. The white dot is the location of Tropical Storm Gert. Maximum surface winds around 35 miles per hour. Of course, this was a few hours ago before they upgraded it. And we have maximum flight level winds 42 knots in the northeast quad. So they're still flying around out there right now, but this is a very poorly organized system. And here's the front page of Hurricane City. Again, our current feature is the island of Bermuda. Right here, click on Bermuda to the left, or you can simply click over Bermuda on the tracking map itself and get all the latest information from Bermuda as the system moves toward the island. There are really not that much resources from Bermuda. There used to be about 4 or 5 webcams that were pretty good on the island of Bermuda, but right now there's only really one working. But you can go ahead and click on Bermuda to get the localized information, news, radars, and webcams, and there is one radio station streaming live for Bermuda as this passes by. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the forecast situations with Tropical Storm Gert. Here is the wind field forecast. I got to rush through this tropical update video, folks. We have a real bad storm outside, lightning all over, and I got to go ahead and terminate this. But quickly here's our wind field. It's going to stay well east of Bermuda. Notice the yellow is east of the island of Bermuda, and Bermuda is right here, this little dot right in the middle of the screen. So most of the weather will stay east of Bermuda. Again, these can be found in the thumbnails right below the hurricane tracking chart. Here is the size of our wind field. Very small, very tiny wind field. And again, as this passes off, it's going to stay off to the east of the island primarily. Here's a webcam from the Bermuda Weather Service, and you can see puffy, partly cloudy skies. This is from a little while ago, so conditions are pretty good on the island. Sunny skies, partly cloudy. But the weather will be deteriorating throughout the day tomorrow. Now here's the HWRF HFIP model, which is an experimental version of the HWRF from the National Weather Service, and they're showing that this Invest 92L, which is behind Tropical Storm Gert, could become potentially a strong tropical storm or a hurricane and pass right over the island of Bermuda, or very close to it, maybe just off to the left of the island of Bermuda. In a few days from now. So that's gonna we're gonna have to watch that closely, what 92L does behind Tropical Storm Gert. Here's the wind analysis of the Atlantic, and what happened yesterday, I described that we had a couple of upper level lows in the vicinity of what was 94L that became Tropical Depression 7 and eventually Tropical Storm Gert, and 92L also had a lot of wind shear. The upper level lows are still there. They're swirling right around here, but what's happened is Gert has found itself in a little bit of ridging right over the top of this, protecting it from the upper level low, so it's allowed it to flare up a little bit. It's still a little bit of a lopsided system, but it's got enough just to get going here and could potentially become a strong tropical storm as it kicks on out. And then, of course, 92L is right behind it over here, but that's still dealing with a little bit of wind shear and dry conditions out here. Now 93L is still, it's not on the map at Hurricane City, but it looks like it's getting a little bit better organized here. We have a little bit of a high pressure aloft on this system right here trying to build over this. But there's a lot of dry air out in front of this. I'll show you a satellite in just a minute of the dry air, but this dry air is going to disrupt this from really getting developed, and none of the models right now are really developing this 93L very much at all, so there's really nothing to worry about for the Western Atlantic Basin as this moves into the Caribbean. The models are just really not showing much with this at all. Here is the steering flow, and you can see our very strong steering flow down here, which 93L is really moving very fast. That's another reason why it's not developing, not to mention the dry air out in front of it. But here's our steering flow right here, our high pressure, and these systems, both GERT and 92L, will circle around this high pressure and get kicked out into the open Atlantic by the trough moving off the United States. So these are going to be no effect to land other than Bermuda as they give them a glancing blow while kicking off the northeast. But we're going to watch 92L closely because that could be a little bit stronger than what GERT ends up being when it gets near Bermuda. And here's the water vapor loop. Let's go ahead and zoom in on this. And this is the LSU water vapor loop showing the dry air. Now the aqua colored clouds you see here are dry air. That's dry air. Look at this, all out in front of what would be 93L. That's still trying to get itself together here, but it's heading into dry air. It's really tough for the systems to get developed. And here is GERT up here north of the dry air, finding itself a little bit of a favorable environment, and then 92L is still kind of wrapped in the dry air a little bit, dealing with some wind shear. So that's why these systems are having a chance to develop, as they're getting away from the dry air as they get further north here and out into the open Atlantic. Here are the pressure anomalies for the entire globe, and if you look in the upper right hand corner of this image, let me zoom in on it a little bit, and you'll see over here on the upper right hand part of the screen, this is the Atlantic Basin right over here, and right where GERT and 92L are lower than normal sea level pressure anomalies. So this system is that's why both of these systems, despite the not really favorable environment that they're in, are having a chance to develop because the pressures are pretty low out here, and it's allowing these systems to crank up. But further down in the Caribbean, they're lower than normal, but not much. I mean, just a little bit above average down here, and as well as in the Caribbean Sea, the Gulf of Mexico. So we'll watch for that as the season unfolds. But right now, pressures are below normal in most of the Atlantic Basin, which allows for more systems to develop even under shear conditions. So we'll be watching for that as the season moves on here. All right, that's about it for now. We'll go ahead and give another update video in a few days. It looks like GERT's going to develop a little bit more past east of Bermuda, and then Invest 92 will be the next one to watch. We'll see if that becomes a more serious situation for Bermuda, but that's about it for now. Thank you again for visiting Hurricane City.